Guys, long time no video. First of all, I'm joined this afternoon by my lovely co-host, who is fluffy and sassy and a princess and wants everyone to worship her. I hope you guys enjoy my flower crown. I just thought it would be really fun to kind of get into the summer solstice spirit as I do this video. So this video is going to kind of be a favorites. For the month of May, I was doing like weekly deck reviews, and I wasn't entirely sure from the get-go if I wanted to keep doing that once a week, or if I just wanted to do a favorites video, or if I just wanted to do a video on decks at the end of each month that I worked with. I'm still not sure, but I figured I have a lot to talk about and share, really. um, I have a lot to talk about and share, so I figured I'd just do it this way with favorites for this month, and maybe I'll keep doing it this way, maybe not, I'm not sure. But thank you for bearing with me as I kind of figure out what works best for me and what I want to share with you guys. First things first, you will probably notice I didn't really upload anything within the last week. I wanted to do that to have sort of a moment of silence or moment of respect for what is going on right now, specifically in my community, but also what sparked going on in the whole world. I am a Minneapolis resident, as you guys know, although I'm from Washington State. I moved here to be with my husband. So I have been here in the middle of kind of everything that's going on with the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, and I just wanted to take time last week to be silent so that more voices could be heard on this, because I feel very strongly about this, and I feel I'm very saddened by what is happening, but I'm also very fed up in the sense of things need to change, and I support POC, I support the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. I just wanted to make a quick stance and tell you guys why I wasn't uploading any videos last week and how I feel about it in kind of very summed up sense without getting too into it. So let's get into the favorites. There's a cat hair tickling my nose as usual. Really, cat? She was just a leave from work. I first wanted to talk about some books that I read. I was actually really struggling to read for the first couple of months that we were dealing with COVID, which is basically still a issue. Although my governor is slowly opening up the state of Minnesota, we are still kind of in this, it's in a phase thing. So I'm still taking precautions. I'm not taking my children to the grocery store with me. I'm wearing a mask when I'm out, all that. But I was really struggling to read for the first couple of months because it was just so hard to focus. And I think a lot of that had to do with anxiety. But I ended up picking up a few books over this last month, and I was finally able to jump into my reading practice, which has really felt great because I'm really trying to be more consistent with it. So the first book I picked up was The Highly Sensitive Parent. This is by Elaine Aron. She is actually the person who coined the term highly sensitive person. She wrote the book The Highly Sensitive Person. I am a stay-at-home parent. I have two young boys, and I am a highly sensitive person. So I was really excited when she came out with a book on tips on dealing with being a highly sensitive parent. And it was just really exciting to be able to, first of all, it's extremely validating to read this. Second of all, it's been very helpful for tools with dealing with overstimulation and all of the struggles that come with being a highly sensitive parent. So if you guys want me to make a video talking about being an HSP and sharing my experiences with it, I know I've talked about it a little bit on this channel, but I can certainly elaborate if anyone wants to know. Hopefully it might help you, because I can honestly say discovering that I was an HSP has been life-changing for me. So this is The Highly Sensitive Parent. It's incredible. The other book that I read through What is Remembered Lives, and this is by Phoenix LaFay. This book is really awesome. It's basically all about developing relationships with deities, ancestors, and the Fae. I will admit I wasn't particularly interested in the Fae, so I didn't digest a whole lot of information from that chapter, but I really did focus more on ancestral worship, which is the main reason why I purchased this book, but also from a deity, working with deities as well, because any information I can gather on that from different perspectives to me is something that I am going to be interested in. She does list some deities in here that she does talk about some specific deities. Let's see. She talks about Baba Yaga, Bridget, Morgan le Fay, Dionysus, Hapi, Mithras, Aradia, Thor, and Lilith, and then a few others mentioned in each chapter because it's kind of categorized by deities of magic, deities of mystery, deities of revolution, and then it goes into the ancestors and the difference between the ancestors and the beloved dead. So, and the mighty dead, and then the third section is all about working with the Fae. And the last section kind of goes into the Wheel of the Year and putting it into practice if you're interested. I do recommend this book. I think it is a really great asset for that type of magic, that type of worship, if you want to incorporate that into your practice. Because I'm interested most in the ancestral worship, I particularly digested that the most. But she had a lot of great things to say in this book. So if that's something that your practice is kind of taking a turn to, this is definitely a good source of information. The last book that I bought last month isn't so much a read cover to cover as it is more a work and study book, but this is Astrology for Yourself, and this is by Douglas Bloch and Demetra George. I know Demetra George has a handful of other astrology books that I'm really curious to read, but this is essentially a workbook for learning how to read your birth chart. And I felt that with my astrology studies, it would start with learning my birth chart. I have been interested in astrology since I was a child, and I have really been wanting to learn more about how to read my own birth chart, understand more about myself, and understand more about the current state that the planets are in right now and how they can affect our magic and society and what's going on. I find this really interesting. So I've been going through this workbook and it's been really great. I bought a journal to go along with it, which I have been going and putting studies into. I threw my natal chart in there, a couple different versions of it, and then I've kind of broken down my chart for everything that is in it from a few print-offs. And then it kind of goes into the studies that I have been doing for the exercises for this book. I am about, I'd say, 50 pages in so far, and I've really been enjoying what I'm doing. So it's been really fun and I'm learning so much, I think more so than I ever have with astrology. So I've been really fascinated by kind of really diving into that study. I wish that there was a book like this on everything I ever wanted to learn about magic, because this is a really, I mean, it's very informed, but it's not so much that it reads like a textbook and you're bored out of your freaking mind. So that has been really fantastic. And getting a separate journal to just kind of dedicate towards it. That's just, me and what I do. And speaking of other journals, this is the other journal project I'm working on. This is a spell book that I'm creating to put my spells in. You'll notice that half of the pages look a little funny on the gilding. First of all, I added a cover page, like some collaging, and then I have been working on tea staining. So I'm almost halfway through the book, tea staining, and I plan on putting all of my spells in here. And since I'm still working on the tea staining, I've been really tempted to do a tutorial video on kind of how I've been tea staining and the process I've been doing. So yeah, if you guys want to see a video on that, just let me know. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to share with you guys is the decks I was actually working with in the month of May. The first one is the Oracle of Echoes. This is by Antorian. I have shared this on my channel before. I've only had it since the beginning of the year, but this deck is phenomenal. It's very watery, but also very, it has a lot to do with psychology, which I think is great. And it's just an amazing deck. I have found I've been using this more so for dream work, just because of the psychology aspect to it. But honestly, you can use it for daily draws, you can use it for shadow work, you can use it for any type of reading, I really think. And it's just one of those ones that really kind of goes deep, which I greatly, greatly enjoy. And then one of the tarot decks I've been working with is the Anima Mundi tarot. This is by Megan Werden. I think that's how you say her name. I'm probably wrong, and I'm so sorry, but she is a beautiful artist from the Pacific Northwest. So this deck feels like home to me. It just really kind of makes me think of the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest, although there are some cards like the world that's more of a jungle. But that one makes me think of like Mount St. Helens, and I just really love her style with her work, and just this deck just makes me think of home. It really does. I love it so much. And this is my favorite card. I love the Orca. It's kind of a spiritual animal for me. I've loved them since I was a kid. So growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I saw them in the wild. So they just make me think of home, and so does this deck. This deck is really comforting for me because of that, but it's beautiful and I love it so much. So whenever I'm homesick, I tend to pull it out. Because I miss Washington. I have a shirt on that says mountains are my happy place today because I miss Washington. The next deck I've been working with is, keep it in this little installation bag, is the Star Tarot. This is by Kathy McClellan. It's crazy that I can remember the names for the most part because I have mom brain. This is the first edition, which is upside down apparently. I have trimmed mine, edged it in like a dark blue. As you can see, I kind of still need to go through and maybe put a second coat on there, but hey, I'm only human. But yeah, this deck has kind of elements of Thoth, but it's mostly Rider-Waite-Smith based, and it's very like cosmic and naturey at the same time. And I don't know, it just kind of hits all the marks for me. Like I really, really enjoy it. I wish I had grabbed the guidebook because but the guidebook is wonderful. She really kind of breaks down all of the symbology in each card, which I love when decks like that go deep. And the artist explains just kind of why they chose everything that they did. It's wonderful, and it makes me so happy. The second edition of this did just release this last month. I'm not going to be picking it up, obviously, because I have this one. But for those who are interested, it is, I think, a matte cardstock. It's slightly bigger and it's borderless. So I know that it's available now, but I love this deck very much. And it's also kind of one of those ones that's perfect if you're starting to maybe get curious about Thoth, because it does have elements of Thoth, although it is not strictly a Thoth-based deck. I have to readjust. Sorry. So wait a minute. I'm missing something. Did I set it down? I set it on my bed. It's behind me. Just a minute. See, this is why editing is good, but now you guys can see my awesome leg tattoo. All right. Apologies. I'm gonna get all adjusted again. Okay. So speaking of Thoth, I have become very curious about Thoth. I've wanted to look into it. I've kind of started to just a little bit over this last month. So I ended up getting This is the smaller version of the Tabula Mundi tarot. This is by M.M. Moline. She does have a podcast called Fortune's Wheelhouse that she does with, I think, Susie Chang. And yeah, this is a Thoth deck. I was a little worried because I got the smaller version, but honestly, you could still see the images very well, and I don't tend to struggle to absorb it. I plan on purchasing a Thoth, or I plan on getting a Thoth deck as well soon here. It's just something that hasn't happened yet. So I can actually study Australia's Thoth. But I did want to get M.M. Moline's deck as well, the Tabula Mundi, because I really liked it for a lot of different reasons. I also purchased her book, which is the guide book essentially for this deck. Some bookmarks sticking out of it that she gives you. This is what the back of the cards look like too. And this really kind of goes very deep into everything she has put into these cards and why they look the way that they do. And so I worked with that a little bit, just kind of getting my toes wet. I think I only did about 7 days or so working with it, and then I kind of moved on to something else because I wanted to take a little more time with it. And once I get more back into Thoth, I'll share with you guys more of the things that I learned. But this is the other book that I picked up. This is called Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. This was very highly recommended. I have not read this yet, so I cannot give you guys any information on it. But I hope to use this and study alongside when I actually get a Thoth deck. So I just wanted to quickly kind of mention that I am starting to get interested in Thoth. I've been kind of dipping my toes into it. So the last few decks that I have worked with a little bit are, I want to do a full video on this deck because it's wonderful. This is the Astrolsoul Oracle deck. This is by Maria Fajardo Reina, I think is how you say her name. She's lovely. I've talked to her a few times on Instagram and she's so sweet. I really, really wanted this deck. And unfortunately with shipping, it's just too expensive to get to the US until she had listed a few of them that were slightly imperfect. And they just didn't pass like the complete quality control. So she had them for a fraction of the cost and I was able to pick one up. And honestly, like the only differences you can see is like there's a little nick right there in the middle of the moon. Some of the, like there's slight imperfections, but it's completely readable and it's fantastic. But essentially this is a astrology deck. I love this gilding, it's so pretty. So you have the houses. I've been wanting an astrology deck for quite some time. You have the signs, you have the asteroids, there are moon phase cards. Like this had everything I needed in an astrology deck. I have been looking for one for quite some time, and when I found this one, I was like, yes, this is what I need. This is perfect. So I was glad that I was finally able to get it. But it's beautiful. There's planets. There's a lot in this deck, and there's so many different uses for it. You can use it to study astrology, you can use it to do specific readings. It just depends. And her guidebook is really thorough. It's right here. She did a fantastic job providing information, and I cannot sing higher praises about this deck. Like even getting one with slight imperfections, the quality on this deck is incredible, and she really put a lot of wonderful work into it. So the last deck I'm going to show you guys, which I've shared on my channel, then I'm going to kind of get into a few other things, and then we'll wrap up the video, is the Memento Mori Lenormand Oracle. I'm not using this as a Lenormand. I bought this for a very specific reason. I bought this specifically for spirit communication, to communicate with the beloved dead, to work on my mediumship abilities, and to kind of open myself up. So this has been living on my ancestral altar. I have been, I had been using this. Oh, I did use this for about a week to do daily draws with, and I was really enjoying it. But this is by Claire Goodchild. You guys probably know her. She did the Antique Anatomy Tarot and the Oracle of Oddities. I've done a video on this, so I'm not going to get too into this, but I really, really love this deck. It's beautiful. It has a very unique energy to it, and it's just incredible. So the last thing I'm going to talk about really quick is I did support a couple of people here in the YouTube community by just making a few purchases from their shops. The first one I'm going to talk about is Danimystic. She's here on YouTube. She has an Etsy shop bowl called Witch in the Wild. I asked her to make me a bag for my Memento Mori, and I specifically wanted the spirit board on it, and she did, and it's beautiful, and it's everything I wanted, and she surprised me and also sent me this, which I've been using the crap out of. Like, I carry this around the house and I'll throw like books and tarot cards and stuff in it when I want to go downstairs and hang out with my husband. I do that all the time. I was using a different bag before I got this, but then this. So I've also been using this when like I go out and stuff just by myself. I love it. And Dani is so sweet. So that's one thing that I purchased. I'm just going to put my deck back in here. And then we will go on to the next thing that I purchased that I'm so excited about. So I also purchased a necklace from Tara, who is Kittensweightsandtarot here on YouTube. She is amazing. I love her content, and she's just so sweet and wonderful to talk to. She was doing these travel altar necklaces, and she did one for ancestral altars, and I was like, yes, this is perfect. So she made one for me, and I love it so much. Inside the skull, it has my grandma or my mother's and my grandfather's names written on it. And I keep this on my ancestral altar when I'm not wearing it. And I wear it when I want to feel their energy with me. Hello, Luna. Welcome back. So, yeah, I'm very grateful for this. And thank you again, Tara. It's beautiful and I love it. And she also picked the triangle for me, which was very perfect. When I opened that, I was like, oh, yep. So I will put the links to their shops down below if you guys want to see that. And I will also put the links for everything that I've shared in this video, the books, the journals, the decks. You can find all of those. They are all still available as far as my knowledge. If they're not, I will mention it down in the description box down below. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching. As always, stay safe.